At Decospan, we are rooted in innovation. Welcome to another episode in our podcast series, where today we will talk about innovation and more specifically about what it makes a production unit to be a true factory of the future. With my guests Pieter van Hoecke and Maarten van Vooren, we will explore the cutting edge of manufacturing and the technological revolutions reshaping the industry. Because when I hear factory of the future, I imagine a production floor where machines talk to each other, robots and humans collaborate seamlessly, and artificial intelligence predicts and prevents problems even before they arise. Let's discover if this is science fiction or simply a new reality. Welcome to our show.
Rooted in connection. Rooted in design. Rooted in nature. Rooted in craftsmanship. Rooted in innovation. Join us and explore the spirit of wood. Welcome to Rooted In, a Decospan podcast.
Good afternoon, Mr. Van Hoecke and Maarten, Mr. van Vooren. Welcome to our show, to our beautiful studio here at Interzoom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
It's so great that you're joining us on this new episode of our podcast. And it's an episode which is really tailored to what we are doing day to day. It's about operations, about manufacturing. I think these are also your passions, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Mr. Van Hoecke, you have quite a lot of experience as you are the CEO of Van Hoecke. Can you please explain a little bit what your company is doing?
Yes, of course. So our company, founded in 1967 by my father, as a distributor of furniture hardware, has grown to the company that we are today. And today we are not only in the distribution of the hardware of the furniture, but we are also in the production of furniture components for our customers. And our customers are the Belgian, Benelux and Swiss manufacturers of furniture, especially kitchens and bathroom. So the utility furniture, as we call it, because they have a heavy duty, they need heavy duty furniture fittings. But we try to help them today with our production, also to, how should I call it? Let's call it complexity fatigue.
That's interesting.
Huh? Complexity fatigue. Complexity fatigue is the stress our customers have today, because the world is changing and the demands of the end consumers are so rising. There are so many different options, so many varieties, that they get what we call complexity fatigue, and we try to take that away from them by simplifying their success.
Wow, that's really interesting, and we should dive deeper into that just in a few minutes. But first, Maarten, you are also responsible for all the operations within Decospan, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm there for 6 years, almost 20 years in the operations, and before I worked at the automobile. But now, at Decospan, mainly for the veneer panels. I'm responsible for all factories.
Okay, seems like also a very challenging position that you have, and we're eager to learn more about what that really means. But of course, our main topic is Factory of the Future, and you are both official winners of that award. So your company has won this beautiful award in the case of Van Hoecke for the fourth time, if I'm not mistaken, right? And for Decospan, it was the first one.
The first time, yeah.
All right. Before we go into the details about winning this award, it might be interesting for our audience to understand how the format of the Factory of the Future actually works. And Pieter, since you have been a successive winner, it might be interesting for you to introduce that.
Yeah, first of all, I have to state that I'm not the operational expert in our company. So I'm the CEO, and the CEO is always the one who sets strategic lines. But if I would approach your question, Wouter, with the strategic view, for us it was very important to the first time we took on the challenge, because as I said before, our origin, our DNA is distribution. So the distribution, that's simple. You buy products with your supplier, you add something on top, you add some services on top, and then you sell it to the customer. That's a very simple process. But in the early 2000s, 2001, we decided to start producing.
Okay.
And that's another ball game. And therefore we needed some insights. So in the first time it was an experiment. So we tried to, so we started with simple assemblies to help our customers, to take this complexity fatigue away, which became a success. And of course, after the success, it's no longer a tryout. You have to make things work for the sustainable business model. And therefore, we, in the beginning, we had a long process of improving, self-improvement. We have a few very intelligent people working in our company that are very practical. And then, so we try to improve our processes and so on. But by the growing success and the demands we got, this challenge became much more complex. And then we, in the first major issue we did was to hire someone with lean manufacturing background.
Right.
So our current production director is someone who has been a consultant for many years in lean manufacturing. And that was our first step. But that was still before the factory of the future.
Yeah, there was the early days of manufacturing experience at the company.
We even had this little story. We even had the luck that the consultant brought Mr. Shioda, who was the son of the man that developed the early Toyota production system.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So it was quite an amazing experience. We had him for a visit once. There was a little Japanese older man. He could not speak very good English, but he did the Gemba walk, Gemba walks. Yeah. So he took us on a tour through our factory, and he was always nodding with his head. No. No. And we said, he's not satisfied. What are we doing wrong? And then he started to scribble on a piece of paper, and then he explained the simple thing of distance, walking distance. So 1 meter is 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we said, things to improve, the improvement again.
Yeah.
So, but that's the nice thing, and I'm getting passionate if you're talking about lean manufacturing and the improvement, because the factory of the future, if you look at the process, is really based on those 7 transformation domains. Exactly. Actually, it's really based on the basis of lean manufacturing.
Yep.
From my automotive experience, I recognized a lot of things in that assessment of factory of the future. And indeed, if you get into that audit of the factory of the future, you can get, of course, all the examples where you were successful in, but you also can discover all potential that still needs to be developed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that, I think it's very nice that like you and your company, you have the consecutive 4 awards, meaning that every audit or every award winning is a step again for improvement in the future.
Exactly, Maarten. Yeah. So if I may add something on that, I remember the first time we got the awards. Right? That's 2016. Yeah. In 2016, everybody cheered because we achieved something, being not in a DNA manufacturer, winning as the first company in the woodworking industry. Yeah. Such an award, which proved that the way we were working was okay. And I remember my first sentence when they asked me, "How do you feel now?" And I said, "This is not an achievement. This is not an end. This is the beginning of a process of continuous improvement, because you cannot. It is not a momentum you get. It's the starting point of a long-lasting, sustainable process."
Yeah. Okay. So, through going into this, let's call it the competition, you generated or cultivated a new kind of a mindset of continuous improvement, and you always pushed the bar for your own operations.
Exactly. Yeah.
How was that then for your people? Because getting acquainted with operations is one thing, and then always having to adapt to these new standards, that must have been a challenge for them, or how was it?
Well, it is a challenge, right? But challenges can be joyful too. Yeah. Especially if you solve them right, then it's an achievement. Eh? And I remember the first time we took part in the audit, people were really enjoying under little pressure. The whole transformation, because you have to go through the 7 transformations, and you have to prove and adapt some things in your production to achieve at least the level 4. I think it's. But I'm not the operational one, so so I think it's the maximum is 5, but you have to achieve level 4, and in certain domains we had to take action. And then you saw everybody who was involved in the project, you saw those people actually grow into their job. It was a challenge that made their job more valuable, because they could contribute to something, let's say, tangible. Which in a normal operational way of working, they were not so focused on this continuous improvement. And that was one of the things we really saw as a very big benefit. So to align all our operational people to one goal, to get better.
But I think there's something very important that you say about Factory of the Future is the connection with continuous improvement. And sometimes I think it could be a misconception that the Factory of the Future is only about new technology. It's about automation and robots, like in your introduction you're saying.
Exactly.
But if you look to those 7 transformation domains, it's really the improvement process. And what's nice, you need to have the 4 out of 5, but you need to have it for every transformation domain. So everything needs to be perfectly in balance.
Yes.
And for example, you have this domains about the technology and about the smart factories, but you also have this domain about human-centered organization.
Exactly.
So it's also about the involvement of the people. How do they contribute? Not only engineers about technology, but also the operators performing the job day by day. So it's the balance that is very important in this assessment, I think.
So it's not simply one check the box and you are the factory of the future.
Not at all.
It's going quite wider than that.
No.
Yeah. And what you said before, Maarten, I find it very interesting. The first time we saw the 7 transformations, and you have the smart factory, digital factory, and so on, we thought, we don't have so much production technology that where you can have a show off. We don't have a large area of robots. You come from the automotive industry. I visited once Volvo in Ghent, and then if you come there, you're in the future. So there's all robots and automated processes and so on. And I came back and I said to our production director Sven, and I said, I don't think we will manage to get through the audit, because if that's the standard of the industry, and we are actually working with basics. And then Sven explained that in the lean manufacturing philosophy, it is not about machinery, it's not about automation for the automation, it's about the result you want to have.
Exactly, and that's a very important part, because automating waste, that's a huge error in lean manufacturing. So it's first about eliminating waste and all unnecessary steps, and then you go into the automation. But of course, and I think it goes hand in hand, because at a certain time, and especially nowadays, it goes very fast. There are quite some new technologies that can really contribute to do it much smarter. Not by automating waste, but just by doing it smarter. And with the AI that is coming up, it is a challenge and it goes fast.
Yeah.
Now, the nice thing about this factory of the future as well is that, and I think the domain of networked factories, they assess how do you look outside. Because from an operation, I'm a very operational guy, so I'm always like inside the factory and inside. But one of the aspects of being a factory of the future is also looking outside and learning from other companies, visiting other factories, and seeking for new technologies that could help you. Not just because you want to have that new technology. No, because maybe you find a new technology that can really help you to optimize your performance.
Yeah. So it's not about having as much as robots as possible, all clear, lined up.
No.
It's a whole other different kind of philosophy that's behind it. And you mentioned there are new technologies coming up. Is there one that you would pinpoint that you really say, okay, that's actually something I truly believe in for the next stage of a factory of the future?
I think it's the data. And I know, like you explained as well, how do you manage all this variety, all this complexity that you want to solve for your customer? In our business, it's also the case. There's a huge amount of variety, and of course, it's with natural products. So it's not like in the automotive that one piece stays the same piece. No, with natural products, it's much more complex, and I think by the fact that more and more data captation is possible, that you also need to implement or get the knowledge and the competence to be able to work with this data, because then you can even go further than it is maybe in the first hand obvious, and especially with lean manufacturing, but in more and more complex processes, it's also about data, and then you need to have that skill to really get into that.
I'm completely with you, Wim, because we are in a business that's driven by mass customization. So one of the main products at the moment we produce for our customers are drawers. So the standard drawers, perhaps you met us already this morning when you opened your drawer in your kitchen, or you opened the door or whatever. All those hinges and drawer slides and drawer box systems come probably out of our factory.
Yes.
And I always say to explain to people what our challenge is. Imagine that if we would make every drawer we can possibly make, with all the systems and all the variety in length, in depth, in height, in colors, in accessories, in adaptations and so on, we should produce over 100 billion variety.
That's huge.
Yeah, and imagine complexity fatigue. Our customer has to choose one drawer or 10 drawers out of this 100 billion drawers. So how does it do this? And this managing of this complexity, therefore you really need processes and systems. And for us, I think the backbone and the real driver of our knowledge is our software. So we developed everything ourselves. And even, let's say, big manufacturers of mass production, when they visit us, they say, "Oh, what you're doing, we cannot do." I remember a conversation with the how is he called again, the general manager at that time from Volvo. He came to visit us together with Agoria and so on. And I was a little impressed to have such an experienced manufacturer in our house. And then I thought, wow, shouldn't we be a little bit anxious? What will they think about our processes and operations? And at the end, I asked him what his opinion was, and he said, "What you are doing, we are absolutely not able to do." And I just had this flashback of his factory with all his robots and whatever, and I said, "What is there that he cannot do and that we do?" And he said, "If I compare your production with ours, and let's say if you would make cars, you would make cars like we do, all the different models on one line, but you would also change the length, the width, and the height of the car by millimeter." And that's something a car manufacturer cannot do.
No.
That's simply they simply assemble standard components. There are a lot of components, but they assemble standard components, and we make the variety in the components also. So this is a huge challenge.
And that's a challenge, and then to cope with all those variety, but still having that stable process. That's
maybe another question. Having all these inputs, it seems like quite a tough journey to become an advanced manufacturing. What would be good advice for people who want to invest and go down the same way and are eager to improve their operations?
I would say involve everybody. This is not a one-man show, or not also the show of some certain experts. It's a complete company that needs to be involved. And I think by reaching that, you will be already close to a factory of the future, because everybody will come up with ideas and everybody will give suggestions. Next to that, of course, you also need to have a good strategy, I think.
Of course,
consistent strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to know where you're going the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And by introducing frameworks that you push people to go outside or go into networks to learn from each other, this is the extra push that we can give. But I think the main is involving everybody.
Right. You feel the same thing, I believe. You were acknowledging what Maarten was saying.
Yes, absolutely. I think the involvement of the people of your own people is key. If I have an advice for people who want to start the process of becoming a factory of the future too, I would say beware of leaving the steering wheel in the hands of an external consultant. Because this external consultant, he can have, let's say, a high-level view of the production and perhaps dive into some details, but they will never understand the linking between the process and your people. And if you don't have your people on board, in the end, they will have a production line that will function, but it's not theirs. And if it's not theirs, then this continuous improvement will not work, because then they are too far away from this contribution.
No, it will not be embedded in the culture of.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for all this information. It was really, really a very nice way of getting acquainted with the factory of the future. I thank you so much for being here and for joining us at Interzoom.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're not done yet, because I have one more question. Because I know in production it could sometimes be a really madhouse. Do you have some mantra you live with to deal with the day-to-day, sometimes struggle and jungle that you're working in?
I would say stay calm.
Keep your cool.
Keep your cool. Because if not, it works counterproductive. It just creates more stress.
Yeah.
And then going into the root causes and stuff like that.
Great.
Stay calm.
I totally agree. I cannot add something, because that's key to have a good process and to look for the future.
All right, great. One last thing, if people want to learn more about your operations, what you're doing, your experiences, is there any way, anywhere, some place they can find some information about it?
Well, we have on the website of decospan.com a complete article of how we interpreted the factory of the future with some nice examples. So there you can find things about this.
That's a must read, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah. We have a slightly different approach, because we are already for the fourth time awarded Factory of the Future. So we open up our doors for people who are interested to know something more. They can easily call us, they can ask for a meeting, and we will help them and explain them how we reached those goals. And we are ready to support them with practical information and with pitfalls to avoid and all those things. So,
all right.
Well, perfect. I know what to do now.
Yeah, we should talk more together.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. With this open end of hospitality, I also thank our listeners today for joining us on the podcast. And please remember to subscribe to our entire series on your known channels. And I hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much,
Bye-bye.
Maarten. Thank you, Maarten.